everyone, I'm Bonita from Pennies to Dollars and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I was raised in rural Kansas and my parents were Depression era. So I was raised many of the ways that they were raised. I was raised very old fashioned. And as I grew up, I got away from a little bit of that. And now I am totally back to it as much as I can be to try to save in these trying times. I also have recently retired. I am debt free and I am sharing tips and tricks with people to try to help them save money as well. I did retire early. I am not 58 yet, but almost. I'll be 58 in January. So let's get started today. I started this series a couple of weeks ago, and I started it by just sharing with the viewers in 1 week the ways that I saved money that week. And it's been pretty popular. So I am going to do that again today. I'm going to tell you some of the things that I have done this week to save money. Now, I always look at my insurance printouts that come in the mail. Many people just file those away, toss them in the trash, but I take the time to look through them and I look at what it says that I owe for the visit that I had. And recently I had two different doctors, one a dentist, one my arthritis doctor, that had charged me more than I was supposed to be charged. And I saw that through my insurance paper that came in the mail. I got a refund of $53 from my dentist when I called, and I just recently got another $30 back from my arthritis doctor. They charged me $50 like they were a specialist, and my insurance only charged $20 for an office call. So that alone gave me 83 extra dollars this month, which has been 83 extra dollars. I mean, who doesn't want that, right? So I just wanted to share with you to always check those insurance printouts that come in the mail. They make their best guess when they charge you, and you have to prepay as you go in, but sometimes their guess isn't right. The second thing that I did all week, and I've got back to doing this, I've been doing it for a while and I got a little lazy, I guess, but I take my phone charger that plugs into my car and I always make sure it's plugged in whenever I'm going anywhere because it will charge up to 4 dots. And I have realized that if I get it charged all the way to 4 dots, I literally can charge my phone for about 2 days without plugging it in the house. Now, how many people plug in their phone every night before they go to bed and just leave it plugged in all night, every night? It really doesn't need 8 hours to charge. And this has saved me money. My electric bill was back down to $65 this last month. I was thrilled with that. That is a huge savings. So yeah, this may not look like much, but it cost me about $12. It's for an iPhone. I don't know if you can put another, you would probably put another adapter in it for any type of phone, but it works great. I can put a link in the description box if you're interested, but I love this thing. So I faithfully plug it into my car and then bring it in the house and use it to charge my phone for a couple of days and just make sure I take it back out every time I'm going somewhere. I also wear my clothes more than one time. I don't do a lot to get dirty. And even Levi jeans will tell you to wear your jeans like 7 to 10 times before you wash them. Did you know that? They're made to be more durable and last longer, and they're made to wear multiple times before you wash them. Many people will just throw them in the wash every single time or every couple of times. And unless you get visibly dirty, you really don't have to do that. And I know that's a shocker for a lot of people because in this day and age where washing machines are so easy to just wash something every single day, people don't really think about that. But in the older days, when washing was done by hand or by crank, it was a chore. So people didn't normally wash their clothes every single day. And it's still not necessary unless you do something to get visibly dirty or they have an odor. So now on to some other frugal things that I've done this week. I've started my carrot tops again. As you can see, I just cut off the bottom of the carrot, put it in there, and it grows tops. These are great in your soups, your stews, your stir fries. They make an excellent green addition to putting in your foods with high flavor. I also have started more lettuce, just clipping off the bottom of the lettuce and putting it in there. This works great. Remember to change your water every couple of days. And you can also do that with celery. And this is one of my celery plants. I actually have another one of these out in the yard that I need to dig up and transplant to bring in. Because if you can believe it, we now have a snowflake on our weather app for tomorrow. I've been watching my plants very closely, and I had to go out today and I had to pick a whole bunch of things to bring in the house. This is just a sample of some of the stuff that I brought in. My peppers, my little tomatoes. Now, some of these tomatoes, they were giving away at work on my last day. And they had a big box of them. And would you believe no one was wanting to take them? I even heard somebody say, "What do you do with green tomatoes?" Well, you put them in the window and they'll turn red. In fact, we did this last year, and by March and all through January and February, we had fresh tomatoes from the garden. They might sit there for months, but they'll turn red and they'll taste like you just picked them. I also have pulled a bunch of my green onions, chopped them up and froze them. I have some more of those to do. I've picked all the pods off of my lettuce plants to let that dry so I can finish seeding those and keeping those for seeds for next year. And of course, when I'm cutting up my peppers and freezing them, I'm saving all of those seeds for next year. I am trying to be more self-sustainable. Now that I have more time, now that my kids are grown, I'm trying to do more things like that to save me money. Seeds in a packet are so few and they cost quite a bit for those few. So why not just do it ourselves right here at home and then not buy any seeds? I didn't buy any seeds this last summer. In fact, my daughter and I even traded a few seeds because she also does the same thing. Now, the funny thing is back in the day, my middle daughter would always buy me plants for Mother's Day. And she would come home on Mother's Day if she was in college or even when she had children. She would come home, help me plant those flowers on Mother's Day. My younger daughter would need drug out to the yard because my middle daughter would say, "It's Mother's Day. We have to help her plant the flowers. This is her day." And my youngest daughter didn't want to, but she did. Now she has the greenest thumb of all of us, and she does a fantastic job in her garden. I am still learning things from her, and she's even worked at places that sell plants in the summertime when she went through college and after to make extra money, and learned even more by doing that. So save those seeds. Go ahead and plant that stuff. Even your celery that you grow from buying a purchased stock of celery, it has less chemicals, it is more tender and more flavorful. And it's not hard to grow. Trust me, I do not have the greenest thumb anywhere, but if I can do it, I know anybody can do it. Also saved all of the peels off of my carrots and put them in the freezer so that I can make veggie stock with those. And I do not buy things that I'm growing. For instance, you saw the green peppers and they're turning straight to red. So if I want them green, I'm going to chop them while they're green. If I want them red, I'm just going to pick them, let them sit in the house for a few days until they're red, and then I'm going to chop them. I'm not going to buy orange. I'm not going to buy yellow. I'm not going to buy any colors that I don't have. I will just substitute the colors that I have until I've used up what I've grown. The same with onions. We have been eating green onions now since the beginning of summer. I have not purchased any onions because I have green onions. Not everything calls for a green onion. So if it calls for an onion, it gets a green onion anyway. I just substitute that in and then I'm chopping them up and freezing them so that we'll have them through the winter. I never realized how much money I spent on onions. We eat a lot of onions in this family. So that has saved us a lot of money, me growing my own onions. Now, since it has been rainy and cold the last few days, I haven't been able to hang my clothes on the line, and my laundry got backed up. I am not going to lie. There's only two of us, but as I told you before, if it's raining, I just don't do laundry until it stops raining. Well, it hasn't really stopped raining, and now we have snow in the forecast, and I have to get some clothes done. It's just to that point. So I'm washing clothes this morning. I have hung up things around the house on hangers to dry, things like pajama pants, things like thin nylon blouses, things that can dry easily or might shrink in the dryer. And I figure everything I pull out and put on a hanger saves me drying time when I have to flip that breaker on and use the dryer. I keep that breaker flipped off unless I'm using the dryer. Then I flip it on, use the dryer, flip it back off. That is a 220 plug. It pulls power. And just doing that has saved us a lot of money because I don't use the dryer very often. And then when I do, I try to listen for it. I try to check it before it shuts off. I try to get things out of there. I try not to run the whole cycle if I don't have to get some things dried. So yes, I'm having to use the dryer today. I had to break down and use it a little bit, but it'll be okay because I'm frugal in other areas. So the once in a while that I have to use the dryer, it really doesn't affect us that much. And I had a situation this week. I made potato soup and I had a recipe that I have made in the past, but when I made it in the past, I purchased chicken broth. Now, I haven't made this recipe in a long time. It's probably been more than 5 years, and it's not one that I normally use, but it actually calls for more chicken broth than milk products. And so I put in my homemade chicken broth and I followed the recipe to the T. And guess what? It was so strong because of my homemade chicken broth that it tasted way too salty, way too strong. And I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do to fix this? We're certainly not going to throw it out. So I boiled more potatoes and I boiled some carrots on the side. I threw in more celery and I boiled that to soft, added it to it, added more milk that it didn't even call for, and kept doctoring it up until I had a very good potato soup. I told my husband, I'm not wasting this. I don't care if I have to freeze it in blocks in my freezer and pull out one block and then add more stuff to it to make it a potato soup and end up getting 4 potato soups out of this. We are going to make this work. And he said, I believe you. You always find a way to make it work. So we ended up with way more potato soup than I originally planned, but we've been eating it all week. And with the cold temperatures and the rainy temperatures, it has hit the spot. Now, my potato soup called for 6 pieces of bacon. So being the frugal person that I am, I took 3 pieces and I cut them in half. That still adds up to 6, right? And we didn't miss the extra bacon at all. So don't be afraid to change up those recipes to suit your budget. So if you make something and it doesn't turn out right, think what you can do to fix that, correct that, add it into something else so that you don't waste that food. In one of my last videos, I showed the burnt toast and how we used to scrape it. And I actually did a TikTok on that, and I had a few people say, that's unedible. I would throw that away. That is a lot of the thinking, I think, nowadays, is to toss something when it doesn't come out right. But we can fix those flub ups. We can make them edible. Everything's too expensive right now to throw anything away. And then since I had my last week of work, I splurged. And by splurged, I say I checked my food apps on my phone. I got 2 free bagels this month. I don't even know why, from Panera. One popped up, and then later another one popped up. And I thought, I don't even know why. I guess they're just putting out specials, trying to get people in the habit of coming. A lot of times places will do things like that to try to get you in the habit, because if they can get you to come 1 or 2 days, you might come every day. You might come 3 or 4 times a week. But I got 2 free bagels this month from Panera. I also got a half price Starbucks. Now, if you've looked at their prices, they are about $7 for a large. I will not pay that. Their coffee is not that good. It is not worth almost a $10 bill to me to get a coffee. But if I can get one for $3.50, I splurged and got a $3.50 coffee because it was half price. So keep an eye on those little specials that they run. They run a lot of those even during the winter. I know we have a coffee shop that is only, I think, local around here. It's called Scooters. Of course, the closest one's 45 minutes to an hour when I say local. So, on your way to work. And they had a free hot brew coffee every single day of September. I took part in getting that free coffee a few days in September. They did that to try to get people to get a habit forming so they would keep coming and to display how good their coffee was. Now, honestly, I didn't think it was that great. In fact, it was too strong for me. But being the frugal person I am, I would bring that hot coffee home, let it cool, put it in the fridge, and the next day I just made my own cold brew at home, and then I could drink it. So, little ways of doctoring things up, taking advantage of some of those specials to get you in their business. Some of those are worth not turning a blind eye to. Many times when we're frugal, we're like, we don't eat out, we don't do this, we don't do that. But it's okay to do that once in a while as long as it is budgeted. My husband took me out on the last day of my job to celebrate my retirement, and we went to Applebee's. We haven't been there in probably 2 years. And at the end, my husband told them we were celebrating my retirement. She said, I'm taking off 10%. We were like, wow, 10% just because it was a special occasion. I didn't even know they had the power to do that. And then we used our Upside app, which is normally used for gas, right? I use that for gas to get cents off on the gallon. I'll put the link in the description box if you're interested. But it takes a while for the money to add up to $15 to cash out to get gas. But they also have restaurants on there. Now, we don't eat out hardly ever. You know that. We have it budgeted once a month. I said, check your Upside app. See if Applebee's is on there. I've never used one of the restaurant rebates, but let's see how it works. So he found Applebee's. It said pay with the app. Well, we thought it meant the Applebee's app, and we're going through all these steps trying to figure out what we need to do. And then we realized it just meant pay through the Upside app. How easy is that? So he just clicked on that, put in the amount that he needed to pay, including the tip and the tax, and boom, it gave him an electronic gift card that all she needed to do was go key in, and he immediately got 5% more back in his Upside. So we saved 15% on eating out last night just by doing those 2 things that just were an added bonus to our celebration. So keep your eye open for those things. Sometimes you think there's no way to save money, but there are ways to save money. Sometimes we may have to work just a minute, to put in the information in that Upside app, but it was worth almost $3 to get that back. So I hope you've enjoyed these tips this week. Let me know if you want to see this type of video continue, and I hope to see you in the next one. I have to go pull up my celery, get it transplanted, make some gluten-free bread next, and do the dishes by hand. Have a great day.